In the year 1095, the cry of war shook the foundations of Europe. At the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II summoned the faithful, urging them to take up the cross and reclaim the Holy Land. His voice thundered with divine fire. He promised remission of sins, eternal glory, and the chance to walk where Christ had walked. Across kingdoms and empires, lords, knights, and peasants alike answered the call. One of them was Elias of Rouen, a bastard knight with no inheritance, only a sword and ambition. He rode not for salvation, but for a name worth remembering. The crusade began not with banners, but with chaos. Peasant mobs marched first, ill-prepared and poorly led. They were slaughtered en masse by Turkish raiders before ever reaching Asia Minor. The real army followed, led by nobles like Raymond of Toulouse, Bohemond of Taranto, Godfrey of Bouillon, and others who mistrusted one another more than the enemy. In Byzantium, tensions flared. Emperor Alexios demanded oaths of loyalty before granting aid. Bohemond, ever the schemer, swore allegiance with a smile he didn't mean.
In the shadows of Constantinople, Elias met Seraphine, a high-born Byzantine woman who defied protocol to tend to wounded crusaders.
Their first meeting was brief, but her intelligence and fire haunted him long after they rode east. The march across Anatolia was hell. Heat scorched the land. Water was scarce. Turkish horsemen struck from the hills and vanished like ghosts. In Dorylaeum, the Crusaders were ambushed by Kilij Arslan's forces. The vanguard was nearly destroyed. Elias fought alongside Bohemond's men in the heart of the chaos, blood-soaked and battered, saving a wounded child who clung to his leg amidst the screams. Reinforcements arrived just in time. Victory came at a cost. Hundreds lay dead beneath the sun, their armor melted to their bones. Infighting poisoned the crusade from within. Bohemond seized supplies meant for the whole army, forcing others to beg or steal. Raymond of Toulouse accused him of betrayal. A council was called, but no justice followed. Meanwhile, Elias discovered a secret. Baldwin of Boulogne, Godfrey's own brother, had abandoned his men and taken control of Edessa, carving out a personal kingdom. His betrayal would ripple across the crusade, a warning that the Holy War had become a game of thrones. The march to Antioch was marked by frost and starvation. When the Crusaders arrived, the city stood tall, defiant behind its towering walls. The siege began. Days turned into months. Food ran out. Men boiled leather for soup. One knight, mad from hunger, murdered his friend for a crust of bread. Within the camp, Isabel, Elias's sharp-witted sister disguised as a squire, uncovered a plot to sell secrets to the enemy. The traitor was a Flemish noble who had promised Antioch to the Fatimids in exchange for gold. Elias confronted him under torchlight, blade drawn. The traitor laughed, said, "You think this war is holy?" before Elias cut him down. His body burned in a pit, a warning to all. Hope faded. A priest claimed to find the Holy Lance beneath a church floor, guided by a vision from God. Bohemond saw an opportunity. He rallied the men with righteous fury, though some whispered he had planted the relic himself. With renewed zeal, the Crusaders stormed Antioch through a secret gate, bribed open by a local guard. The city fell in blood and fire. Streets ran red. Inside the chaos, Elias found Seraphine tending to both friend and foe. She had come alone against her father's wishes to serve those too broken to fight. Her courage seared itself into Elias's heart, a light in the darkness. But the siege was not over. Days later, Kerboga's vast army arrived. Now the Crusaders were the besieged, trapped inside the ruined city. Food ran dry again. Disease took more than the sword. Men abandoned hope. Bohemond refused to honor his oath to return Antioch to Byzantium. He declared himself prince of the city. Raymond opposed him, and the army split into factions. In secret, Bohemond offered Elias command of a battalion if he swore loyalty. Elias declined. His loyalty was to the mission, not a man. That night, someone set fire to the armory. Dozens burned. The traitor was never found. Inside a makeshift hospital, Layla, a captured Saracen healer, worked tirelessly to save the wounded. Isabel, recovering from a spear wound, grew close to her. Their bond formed in whispered words and stolen glances, in the quiet defiance of a war that wanted them enemies. When Layla was accused of poisoning the sick, a mob dragged her to the square. Isabel intervened, casting off her disguise and naming herself a noble of Rouen. Her authority held just long enough for Layla to escape, but not before Elias struck down one of the ringleaders. Their unity frayed. The Crusaders faced destruction from within, and yet they rallied. With the Holy Lance at the front and madness in their eyes, the Crusaders charged Kerboga's army. Against all odds, they broke the siege. The Muslim forces fractured and fled. Antioch was theirs, not by pity but by sheer brutality. The road to Jerusalem stretched long and broken. Along the way, the Crusaders retook towns they had once bypassed, including Ma'ara, where they butchered prisoners and, according to some, ate the flesh of their enemies in desperation. Elias did not partake. He wept for what they had become. Outside the city of Arca, another ambush waited. Muslim cavalry shattered the Crusader scouts. 100 men was lost. Bohemond refused to send aid, hoping to weaken Raymond's forces. Elias led a daring midnight raid into the enemy camp, rescuing survivors and striking a blow that turned the tide. The attack left him bloodied and near death, but in his fever he dreamed of Seraphine's face and awoke screaming, more determined than ever. By the time they reached Jerusalem in 1099, there was nothing left of the men who had begun the journey. The Crusaders built siege towers from dismantled ships dragged overland. Under a burning sun, they launched their final assault. Arrows darkened the skies. Boiling oil fell from the walls. Elias climbed with sword in hand, crying out not for God, but for the memory of every friend buried along the way. They broke through. The city fell. What followed was not war, it was annihilation. Muslims, Jews, even Eastern Christians were slaughtered. The air stank of death. Seraphine, who had snuck into the city with a group of nurses, found Elias collapsed in the temple courtyard, surrounded by corpses. He looked up and whispered, "We won," as if unsure it was true. Elsewhere, Isabel and Layla had fled the crusade entirely. They returned to Aleppo in secret, living as ghosts in a world that had no place for their story. But they endured, proof that love could survive even when empires crumbled. Jerusalem was captured. The crusade declared a triumph. Godfrey of Bouillon refused to be called king, naming himself defender of the Holy Sepulchre. Bohemond ruled Antioch like a petty warlord. Raymond returned to Europe, bitter and broken. Elias stayed behind, guarding the city with hollow eyes. He had found what he came for, a name remembered, but at what cost? The First Crusade carved a path through history with steel and fire. It united the West, shattered the East, and left scars across continents. But among the ruins, stories endured. Stories of forbidden love, of betrayal, of honor and shame. of those who fought not just for Holy Land, but for something more. In the end, it wasn't God or glory that defined the crusade. It was the people caught in its storm. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe to see future content, and share to support the channel. Knowledge is power.